implications of whether we should really be surprised with the kind of reaction that is coming in from China. We have retired Colonel Rohit Dev. We also have retired General Siwach joining us. Good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. Major General Siwach, I want to come to you first. As I was asking my colleague also, this duplicity card, the sense of hypocrisy, lying and playing the victim card is a pattern that we've seen with China before as well. So should we really be surprised if they're saying something similar this time around as well?
And I say what it says and what it does are two different things. Remember that for last about 4 to 5 months, there were activities have increased tremendously opposite to Arunachal Pradesh sector, especially the eastern sector. You find that the troops movement was more, the infrastructure build-up was taking place. So we, as a country, were aware that the Chinese are trying to do something. But as far as this issue is concerned, what they have come to Wangse, basically in Tawang sector, basically it is strategically very important. And from 2006, this is the 7th to 8th attempt the Chinese have made it. Because Yangtze is so strategically important, it dominates almost 5 to 6 kilometers of area, both sides of the line of actual control. So the Nongdo, which is opposite to the Bumla towards the Chinese side, is totally under domination from Yangtze. And therefore, the Chinese keeps on trying and making an attempt to take the Yangtze. And Yangtze considered as an area of different perception.
Okay.
But India feels that...
Go ahead, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, India feels that this is, the Chinese have been trying to, test our capability. One issue is that they thought that the winters have set in, the snowfalls have taken place, possibly the Indians may have thinned out. But they do not know that the Indians are well prepared. And the victim card which is played by China is totally wrong because they tried to change the status quo. They have crossed a nala which was basically the LAC and have come toward the post. So therefore, saying that the Indians have not let them go to their patrolling route is wrong. As far as China is concerned, their intention is to take Yangtze post.
Yeah.
And therefore, that point has to be made very clear. It is not the victim as far as China is concerned, they are the aggressor. And India has rightly given them a suitable response, wherein more than 20 Chinese soldiers have been injured and few of them are seriously injured.
Yeah, taking on from the point that General Siwach is making that, China is the aggressor and there is a pattern that we've seen in the past as well. Colonel Dev, then is it fair to say that China today would want to settle the border dispute in terms of conditions that are favorable to China and would not back down even if it has to use military pressure and military force?
My perception is that China would never try to settle down the border dispute with India. It is not to China's advantage at all because the vast span of the LAC along the Tibetan border with India is something which China has tried to usurp, and through infrastructure development, both civil and military deployment. And in fact, our actions at Doklam are the point of initiation of this rapid kind of deployment of Chinese military along the LAC since then. And India has done well in the last 2 years, and I'm quite sure for the next 7-8 years, our infra will also be pursued relentlessly by our government and our military and the border roads to make things happen. So I don't think China is going to be at any point of time and as a strategic point try to resolve this dispute. It doesn't augur well for its own stature as well. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
With the Russians, they were forced because Russia was a powerful army to knock them at many places. With us, we have a little bit of a dilemma because we are dealing with Tibet. We are not dealing with the Chinese territory directly. So for Indian army to go and capture territories here and there, except tactically important features, will not be in the motion in the near future. So that is why China will continue. And if you see the strategy, you see the 5 points of contact where they have got tri-junctions with India and the third-party country like Bhutan and other countries. All these tri-junction points are the places where China for the last 20 years has tried to create elbow space by taking up small, kind of territory skirmishes, transgressions
True.
Across the LAC.
Yeah.
And that is the way it's going to be. So what we did to them last year by going to Blacktop as the end state before the onset of winters, they will also pick up now just short of winters for them to territories to come and occupy. And I'm afraid from both sides, it's not that China is going to dominate this
Correct.
at all. We're going to dominate much more. From both sides, there will be transgressions in the future which will become solidified military deployments as well. So both the countries have to be very, very firm. And I'm very, very happy today that at least the Indian side and the Indian government is very pro what military action to be taken. You see the morale of the troops. You must have seen those videos in the last
I think that's
days.
a very crucial point that you're making, that the situation might be okay for now, but both, the Indian side needs to be with its guard up, considering the fact we know how China continues to play its dirty game. Colonel Dev and General Siwach, unfortunately, I will have to leave that conversation there. I quickly want to go back to my colleague Abhishek as well. Abhishek, taking on from what the experts were saying, and I want to talk to you as far as the build-up which continues, as far as the settler villages and the infrastructure build-up that China continues. The situation might be okay for now, but because this build-up still continues and the settler villages only continue to increase, is there now a fear that these villages are going to be used as launch pads, or they're already being used as launch pads?
Of course, I mean, this could be the long-term policy of China to build new habitats and then place people there as part of the residential program, and then soon these villages could be part of the military establishment, and they could be very well launch pad of military, military forces. But India, in the past, the recent past at least, has increased its activity of building infrastructure and ensuring that all-weather connectivity remains through its major conflict points across line of actual control. If we talk about Ladakh, if we talk about Arunachal Pradesh or Tawang, we know that in the like 4 to 6 months time, whenever the snowfall starts, these areas, these high remote areas are cut off from the main highways. So to reach out to them, to send them back up during the time of crisis that has happened on the night of 9th of December would normally become very difficult. To have those supply lines continue, to have those backup always present. These infrastructure build-up were necessary. So a lot of highways and tunnels and key infrastructure and military permanent infrastructures are also being built across line of actual control wherever there are possible friction points with Chinese side.
Abhishek, we'll leave the conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details.